You're watching Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's unveil my latest Bears mock draft, give you a little bit of background info about the Bears prospects heading into this draft, and then we will go from there. Chicago does have 8 draft picks this year, including 5 picks on day 3. That's rounds 4 through 7, but they don't have a 4th round pick or a 7th round pick. They have 1 5th and 4 6th round picks. Biggest needs: quarterback, offensive tackle, corner. I think that's your top 3 right now. That can certainly change if they sign more players. For this mock draft, we use the Pro Football Network simulator. So you select whichever team you're using. It auto picks the other teams, and then you pick your own players for the Chicago Bears. To just recap what the picks are: round 1, pick 20; round 2, pick 52; round 3, pick number 83. Those are your day 1 and day 2 picks for the Chicago Bears. Then a lot of picks in the 5th and 6th round, number 164 in round 5. Then you got the 4 6th round picks. Keep in mind, very unlikely they select all 4 of those 6th round picks. Look for them to trade up a little bit, trade down, whatever the case may be. I highly doubt that they will draft 4 players in a 25 pick span, but that's how they sit right now. So we'll go ahead and get into our mock draft. But first, what's the Bears' biggest need for this year's draft? Comment now. It's still quarterback, but the reality is you may not be able to get one in the draft, at least in the first round. So let me know. Quarterback, offensive line, corner, safety, whatever it is, get your votes in. What is the Bears' biggest need for this year's draft? In my Bears mock draft, I'm going to go a different route in round 1. How about Caleb Farley, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech? Now, he is one of the top corner prospects this year. Maybe would have been the top corner selected, but recently had back surgery, and that is certainly a red flag. I think he was probably going to go top 10, top 11 prior to the surgery, but now things are changing. I think he could fall a little bit in the first round, and maybe he even goes round 2. We'll have to wait and see. Teams will have to do their own evaluations. As far as Farley's production goes, he opted out in 2020 to prep for the draft, but in 2019, look at the coverage skills. I mean, this guy gave up hardly any completions, only gave up 1 touchdown, had 4 picks, had 12 pass breakups. You threw at this guy, that was a big mistake if you were an ACC quarterback in 2019. Caleb Farley, freak athlete, reportedly ran a sub 4.3. There's a video out there. You know how that goes. I don't know if he ran that fast prior to the back surgery, but he's really fast. He can cover. He's talented. He's skilled. You see the numbers there. Caleb Farley can really play, but there is the back issue. So you look at the depth chart for the Bears. Obviously, why am I going Farley here? Well, you lost Kyle Fuller. You let him go. Desmond Trufant, even if he plays well this year, that's not a long-term solution. He's got injury concerns. He's getting older, and he didn't play that well last year. I like Jalen Johnson. I love the idea of pairing him with Caleb Farley. I think if both of those guys can stay healthy long-term, you're looking at a dynamic 1-2 punch at the cornerback position between Jalen Johnson and Caleb Farley. But both those guys have injury concerns as well. Jalen Johnson's got a shoulder issue that lingered at the end of last season. So took a bit of a chance here, wanted to mix it up. Cornerback in round 1, Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. Other players on the board at pick number 20. Najee Harris, the running back, you're good there. You don't need any running backs. Elijah Vera Tucker, I was tempted, but again, I wanted to go in a different direction. Plus, there were a lot of linemen still on the board in round 1. So I kind of thought, oh, maybe there's still one there in the second round. Kwity Paye, the edge out of Michigan, I'm not as high on him. Samuel Cosme, Joseph Asai, a couple of Texas prospects there. I opted to go with Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech to try and shore up that cornerback position moving forward. Now, I've mentioned the injuries. I've mentioned the back surgery. Is Caleb Farley worth the risk at pick number 20? Type Y for yes, type N for no. He definitely would be if you had quarterback figured out, but since you don't, that's a fair question. So get your votes in, Y for yes or N for no. In the second round of my Bears mock draft 2.0, Teven Jenkins, a player we've talked about. Let's just be realistic. He's probably not going to be there at 52, but he was in this mock draft, so I'm going to take advantage of that. The Oklahoma State tackle slid a little bit because, teams were taking more quarterbacks early, so a lot of receivers went, and some of the linemen slipped a little bit in this mock draft, and I'm able to get a really solid right tackle out of Oklahoma State to help shore up that offensive line. I think if Farley's healthy and Jenkins is there as round 2, that's a great first 2 picks for the Chicago Bears, because when you look at this O-line, we'll see what they do at right tackle. They re-signed Jermaine Ifedi. He'll compete there. Maybe he'll play some guard again. You've got Alex Bars as well, who could play guard or tackle. Charles Leno Jr., maybe in this scenario, you cut him. Maybe Bars or Ifedi plays left tackle. I don't love that idea, but I do think Jenkins needs to stay on the right side, at least early on in his career. I like him as a right tackle, and he even said a couple of weeks ago he views himself as a right tackle, so keep that in mind. But he did play both tackle spots in college, gives him some versatility, and 39 career starts. He's got the frame. He's got the talent. I think he would be a home run pick in round 2, and honestly, I wouldn't hate the pick in round 1 either. Other players on the board here, Baron Browning, the linebacker out of Ohio State, Ronnie Perkins, the Oklahoma edge rusher. Liam Eichenberg was on the board as well. Again, some linemen dropped in this mock draft. Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore, a couple of receivers. I opted to go with Teven Jenkins in round 2. And I should probably mention that you got to get either a quarterback or a tackle with one of your first 2 picks, if not both. So that's what I did here. I went corner in round 1, but I was able to get a tackle in round 2. Do you want a Bears mock draft with trades? Thought about doing it today, but didn't do any trades on today's mock draft. If you want one, type 1 for yes. If you're like, no, trades are stupid. Doing mocks with trades, it's unrealistic, whatever. Type 2 for no. I personally think they're fun. I'd like to do it, but get your votes in. And here's the deal. I'll make a deal for you guys. If this video gets 100 new subscribers on it, and we can track this on YouTube, so we'll know if it gets 100 new subs, I'll do a mock draft with trades, probably next week. For sure in the next 2 weeks, we will do a Bears mock draft with trades. Need 100 new subscribers from you guys, so spread the word, youtube.com/BearsNow. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. And hey, if we get 100 new subscribers, we will go ahead and do a mock draft with trades very, very soon. So if that's your thing, go ahead and subscribe. Round 3, pick number 83. Let's go JEVON Holland out of Oregon. Another opt-out here. So 2 out of my first 3 picks opt-outs, which maybe that's risky, but hey, he should be fresh as well. The Bears haven't re-signed Tayshaun Gibson. So you look at this secondary, you lose Kyle Fuller. You don't have Gibson as of now. So that's the one spot on defense you could upgrade. I like Holland. He's versatile. He can play some nickel. He can play some safety. He can play up in the box. All the guy did at Oregon was make plays. Look at his 2019 season. Good tackler, 66 tackles, 4.5 TFLs. He plays near the line of scrimmage at times. 4 picks and 4 PBUs as well. This guy can fly around, and he can do some different things. Some people believe had he played in 2020 and not opted out, he could have been a first-round pick. That's how highly regarded he was after the 2019 season, but like several other prospects, decided to opt out in 2020 and prepare for the NFL draft. Probably more of a day 2 type of prospect at this point. Round 3, I love the value for JEVON Holland. Other players on the board, Walker Little, the offensive tackle out of Stanford. I addressed that in round 2. Quincy Roche, the edge out of Miami. Kenneth Gainwell, the Memphis running back. Fun player, don't need a back. Davis Mills, no thanks. I'm not in on him. And then Nico Collins, the wide receiver out of Michigan. Some upside, but very inconsistent play as well. What is the bigger need? Because I've taken a corner and I've taken a safety with 2 of my first 3 picks. Bigger need for this Bears defense. Type safety, type CB for corner. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's corner. I think corner is just a much more important position. But get your votes in, so go ahead and get your and let me know on that one. You guys always ask me about Kellen Mond, and that's okay. We'll talk Kellen Mond if you guys ask him. I ain't interested, though. Here's the thing. If they draft him, trust me, we'll cover it here on this channel, youtube.com/BearsNow. And, hey, maybe we'll do a fan-led mock draft, and y'all can draft them in the first round. Y'all can go crazy on that front. We'll probably do a fan-led mock draft the week before, Brett, the actual NFL draft. So get subscribed. Now is the time to get in on that one. And quick reminder, 100 new subs means we'll do a mock draft with trades very, very soon. The quarterback I did take this time, and I don't feel great about it, but in the 5th round, YOLO, Jamie Newman, Wake Forest, transferred to Georgia in 2020, ended up opting out, did not play for the Bulldogs at all as he decided to prepare for the NFL draft. So another opt-out. Shout out to me for pulling that off. Played in 19 games at Wake with some mixed results from 2017 to 2019. Definitely a raw prospect. He's got a good arm. He's mobile. He can move around and kind of be a creative type of quarterback. But let's be very clear. Jamie Newman's a project. project. He is an absolute project. This is not a short-term play. This probably isn't even a long-term play. You're hoping he becomes a backup, and maybe he can be like a guy you use from time to time because he's a good athlete, like a Jalen Hurts before he became the starter, where you can bring him in and put him at multiple spots. I'm not going to do the cliche Taysom Hill thing. I don't think he runs that well, but completion percentage in 2019, 61%. You like the TD interception ratio there. You feel good about that. Very up and down. Had some killer games, had some bad games. He's a project. That's kind of what you get with these quarterbacks on day 3. There's some upside, but there's definitely some downside. And when you're taking a quarterback in the 5th round, better chance he's out of the league within 5 years than he actually becomes a starter. But I think the value in round 5 could be worse, so I took Jamie Newman. Name a quarterback the Bears should draft in any round. It can be one of those top guys in the 1st round. It can be a day 3 guy like a Sam Ehlinger, a Jamie Newman. Yes, you can type Kellen Mond. This is a democracy here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm not canceling you for typing Kellen Mond. Just know I'm not interested in the Texas A&M quarterback. All right, let's sprint through these round 6 picks because there's 4 of them. TREVON Grimes, the receiver out of Florida. This might be one of my favorite picks, actually, because I think the value is really good. 6'4", 220. He's got good size. The upside is there. He was inconsistent, had some drop issues at times, but big play receiver at the University of Florida. Started his career at Ohio State, but transferred after his freshman season. You see the yards per catch there, over 15 there. Had 9 touchdowns last year. Probably benefited from playing with Kyle Pitts, but the upside's legit. I like the frame. I like the jump ball ability. So in round 6, yeah, I'm definitely a fan of this move. Now, I'm also a fan of keeping Allen Robinson long term, so let's bring it back. Hashtag sign AR. The Bears have until mid-July to get a long-term deal done and to get him off the franchise tag. So hashtag sign AR. Make it happen, Pace. You haven't done much of anything else. Next round 6 pick, 208 overall, Robert Jones, the lineman out of Middle Tennessee. Played some tackle, played some guard in college. He was a JUCO guy. Played his last 2 years in Conference USA there at Middle Tennessee. Loved the frame, 6'5", 330. Slow feet. I don't think he can play tackle in the NFL, but that versatility helps. Maybe he's like a swing lineman where he's your number 7, 8, 9 lineman on the roster, and if a guard gets hurt, he can plug in. If a tackle gets hurt, he can plug in. And in round 6, that's pretty good value for a guy like Robert Jones. Quintin Morris. This is an interesting guy because, excuse me, when I got to this point in the mock draft, you get this late and you're like, I recognize some of these names. I don't recognize others. So I was like, oh, Quintin Morris. Let's look this kid up. The production was great at Bowling Green. I found it interesting, too. Started at receiver and then shifted to tight end his senior year, put on some weight, 6'4", 248, good size there. He was consistently productive throughout his 4 years in college. I mean, you're talking about over 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, and I think he only played in a couple of games this year for Bowling Green because the MAC has like a 5-game schedule, and a lot of teams lost some games due to COVID, so he didn't have as big of a season this year, but he was pretty productive throughout his career in college, and I don't think by any means this tight end depth chart is complete. Now, you feel excited about Cole Kmet's future. Jimmy Graham, I think the Bears are hanging on to him to see what happens with Russell Wilson because they're tight there, but they can cut him to save $7 million. J.P. Holtz, he sucks. Horsebed, Darian Clark, whatever. They're just names. There's definitely room to add a tight end if you are Chicago, and I think Quintin Morris could be an intriguing player late in this draft. Last pick here, remember, no 7th-round pick, no 4th-round pick. ERROLL Thompson, similar to Morris, maybe an overlooked prospect, certainly not a great athlete, but this is a guy who played in 47 games in college at Mississippi State in the SEC. That's not a fluke. Very, very productive. Now, not the fastest guy, not the biggest guy, but can he be a depth, number 3, number 4 type of linebacker and play some special teams? I think so. 312 tackles over 4 seasons, 23 TFLs, had 10 sacks, 3 interceptions, couple of forced fumbles. This guy was a leader for Mississippi State in the SEC. He played next to Willie Gay Jr. for a couple of seasons, who's now with the Kansas City Chiefs, who was a 2nd-round pick at linebacker last season. So round 6, pick 228, a guy who started for the better part of 4 years in the toughest conference in college football. Yeah, I'm down for that at the end of the day. Grade My Bears mock draft. There you have it. 8 picks down. We'll see, what picks they have come draft time because trades could happen. Obviously, trades will happen on the night of the draft. A, B, C, D, or F. More mock drafts to come. Remember, 100 subs equals a mock draft with trades. Get your grades in, and if you were like, oh, I can't remember some of the picks, well, here's a quick recap. Caleb Farley, corner out of Virginia Tech in round 1. Teven Jenkins, offensive tackle in round 2. And then JEVON, HOLLAND, the safety slash versatile DB in round 3. And then the day 3 picks here, Jamie NEWMAN, raw prospect at quarterback. We'll see if he becomes something. TREVON Grimes, the receiver out of Florida, big frame there. Robert Jones, the offensive lineman out of Middle Tennessee. Quintin Morris, the Bowling Green tight end. And then ERROLL THOMPSON, the linebacker out of Mississippi State. So get your grades in, A, B, C, D, or F.